As all of us know, a homily each Sunday is meant to expand a bit and explain a bit of the readings that we've just heard. And every third year when this gospel is proclaimed, I'm always tempted not to give a homily because Christ himself explains the parable of the sowing of the seed. So what could I or any other priest add? But I am going to give a homily, so don't worry. No. But I looked at the gospel and I see it in its connection with the first reading. And I think it gives us a very important truth of our spiritual life. First reading is taken from the second part of the book of the prophet Isaiah. It's believed to have been written about 150 years after Isaiah's death. And it's now the year about 550 BC. And the chosen people are in a most dire and difficult situation. They are in exile. 587, the Babylonian army has come in and decimated Jerusalem, destroyed the temple. Their land, their national identity promised to them by God to always be theirs has now been taken from them. So they represent us in all of our trials and sufferings. And so God inspires that sacred writer to give them assurance that there is and always will be a certainty and an inevitability to God's plan, even when it seems thwarted by current events. He writes, just as the rain and snow come down to make the world fertile and fruitful, so shall my word be, not returning to me void, but doing my will, achieving the end for which I sent it. I absolutely love this quote. It's one of the most famous in the book of the prophet Isaiah. It reminds all of us of this most basic truth that we can so easily forget, that God is the one who is always acting. While we try, sometimes maybe succeed, sometimes maybe fail, we try again, we think we can control and achieve things. It's actually God who is acting and who is achieving all that is good in us. So 20 years or so after the prophet writes these words, the people then are brought back into that promised land. The temple is rebuilt. The people are again restored, united as God's chosen people. And so you and I are always meant to trust and to hope in God's plan, that even in times of great crisis or struggle, we have to know that God has not and can never abandon us. St. Paul then echoes this understanding in a different perspective in the reality of Christ through his passion and death, that for us the sufferings of this present time are as nothing compared with the glory to be revealed for us. Again, he trusts in the inevitability of God's plan. But of course, you and I then must cooperate with that plan. We must open ourselves up to the plan that he wants to accomplish in us, made possible by his grace. And then that brings us to the gospel parable. Those four types of surfaces upon which the seed falls: the path, the rocky ground, among the thorns, and then on that rich soil. Represents each of us maybe at different times, as Jesus explains it. The seed sown on the path is the one who simply ignores it. The one on the rocky ground who hears it, but it only lasts for a time. The seed sown among the thorns grows, but then because of worldly anxiety or the lure of riches, is choked. But then that rich soil, the one who hears the word and understands it and bears fruit. And that's where the focus then falls back on us. What type of soil are we? What do we do each day, or what did we do this week to tend to that soil? How have we prepared in our daily living, in our prayer life, in our reading of good spiritual books, to make sure that our hearts and minds are open to receive God's saving word? Do we each day thank God for the gift of faith, this greatest gift that has been given to you and me? do we also ask him then earnestly to increase that faith in us? For it is only our faith that can sustain us in all the trials that will be ours. It's only when we strive to more fully live our faith that God will then give us the graces so that insensitivity or hardness of that path will be softened. It's only in our life of prayer and obedience to the teachings of Christ and his church that the rocky ground of our anger and our indifference might be cleared. It's only in our dedication to faithful practice of prayer and fasting and self-denial will those thorns of lust and materialism that can so easily choke us be removed. Let us strive to do that each day, so by his grace you and I will become rich soil. For that's God's plan for us. But he will never force himself upon us. He only offers it to us. May we respond in faith so that his word and his life might grow in us, to fulfill in each of us what is spoken in those poetic words from the book of Isaiah, that the word will then go forth, doing his will, achieving that end for which he has sent it.